There's a specific 15-minute stretch you can have in Forza Horizon 6, where you can go from weaving through the light and noise of Tokyo City to standing completely alone on a mountain road with nothing but fog and the sound of your own engine. That contrast isn't an accident. It's not filler between races. It's the argument the entire game is making about what Japan means to it. And by the end of this video, I want you to see that argument as clearly as I do. Welcome to the Game Anatomist. This channel exists because I think we talk about games the wrong way most of the time. We talk about whether they're good or bad, an 8 out of 10 or 6 out of 10, and that tells you almost nothing about what a game actually is, or what it's doing to you while you play the game. So every episode, I'm going to cut a game open along the same 4 lines. First, genre. What category is this game actually operating in, and what does that category promise you? Second, mechanics. The actual systems, the actions the game lets you perform, and why they were built that way. Third, narrative. Not just is there a plot, but what kind of story a game like this is even capable of telling. And fourth, the one I care about most, psychology. What does this game leave sitting in your head after you've put the controller down? Episode 1 is Forza Horizon 6, released this past May, and the first Horizon game to set its festival in Japan. I've put a lot of hours into this one recently, so let's start cutting. Let's place this game on the shelf correctly, because racing game isn't a genre. It's a shelf with different aisles. There's the simulation racer, Gran Turismo, and Assetto Corsa, obsessed with tire physics, where the fantasy is precision. Then there's the arcade pursuit game, Need for Speed, built around cops, chases, and a thin plot. And then there's the aisle Forza Horizon invented for itself back in 2012, when Playground Games grafted Forza Motorsport's simulation physics onto an open world with a music festival as the excuse for everything. That hybrid is the genre Forza Horizon 6 lives in, and I'd give it a more specific name, vehicular tourism. The Horizon Festival has always been a flimsy narrative device for a much simpler pitch. Come drive expensive cars through a beautiful, condensed version of a real place. Australia, Britain, Mexico, and now Japan. A simulation racer's covenant with you is honesty. An arcade game's covenant is adrenaline. Forza Horizon's covenant is neither. It's hospitality. The game's job is to be a gracious host to a place and to you. Playground Games has set out right that the goal with the Japan map wasn't strict geographic accuracy. It's a smoother, condensed version tuned for feel over fidelity. That's a genre decision, not a shortcut. It's doing exactly what postcards and snow globes have always done, and once you see Forza Horizon in that lineage, the rest of the game starts making a lot more sense. Here's where Forza Horizon 6 does something structurally different from the last 2 entries. In Forza Horizon 4 and 5, you arrived as an established festival superstar. Whatever car you wanted, whatever race, the game just scaled to match you, frictionless by design. Forza Horizon 6 removes that on purpose. You start as a tourist, not a superstar, and you have to earn your way in through Horizon qualifiers and an invitational just to get your first wristband. There are 7 wristbands total, each one gaining you into faster machinery. Key cars and hatchbacks early, something like a Bugatti Chiron by the end. And that's mechanic number 1, a reintroduced power ladder. Progression is an actual gate on capability, not just cosmetic. But Playground Games didn't just make the game stricter. They split progression into 2 parallel tracks. Alongside the wristband ladder sits a completely optional system called Discover Japan. You earn stamps, modeled on Japan's real stamp collecting culture, by doing almost anything. Photographing landscapes, running unsanctioned tug battles, night street races, even food delivery side jobs. It all feeds into a collection journal that eventually unlocks Legend Island, the game's top tier region. I want to be honest here, because this channel doesn't work if I pretend a game has depth it doesn't have. Forza Horizon 6 is not story driven. and it never has across the series. There's characters, there's dialogue, even cameos from past entries, but the writing is connective tissue between races, not a reason to keep playing. Critics have called dialogue functional at best. So, instead of forcing a narrative arc reading onto something that isn't built as one, here's the better question. If this game isn't telling you a story, what is it doing instead? I think it's telling you a place, not a plot. The beats that do exist, the tourist to legend arc, the Horizon story side missions, the returning character cameos, all serve one through line, your relationship to Japan itself, as the game constructs it. You arrive an outsider and earn access region by region, wristband by wristband. The shape of that arc is closer to a travel logs than a screenplay's. The emotional shape of a trip, not a hero's journey. Some reviewers have noted this is actually a step back from Horizon 4 and 5, which built their campaigns around story missions as the backbone of progression. Forza Horizon 6 quietly demotes them behind 15 to 20 hours of race grinding to unlock those 7 wristbands. That tells you Playground Games is betting the place, Tokyo City, the tug roads, and the coastline, is doing more emotional work than the plot ever did. The map became the main character. Most games treat their setting as a container for the story. Forza Horizon 6 treats the story as a container for the setting. Once you notice that inversion, you understand why the writing doesn't need to be very good. It was never supposed to be the point. This is the question I actually built this channel to ask. What does a game like this leave sitting in your head once you've put the controller down? 3 threads are worth pulling apart. The first is the flow state progression loop we already touched on. Gate power behind a wristband ladder, layer a second stamp collecting system on top, and you're building a machine almost purpose designed to keep a small one more thing voice running in your head. The reviewer who disabled the auto recommendation feature wasn't describing a flaw, they were describing the mechanic working exactly as intended on their own psychology. It's the same structure that makes checklist apps sticky, just dressed up in keycards and mountain passes. The second is the collecting instinct, and it's worth noticing this game leans into a real cultural tradition rather than an invented one. The stamp system is modeled on Japan's own stamp collecting culture, a real practice of visiting locations to collect proof of a journey. By building a digital progression system around a real analog ritual, the game taps into something that already carries emotional weight, whether players have encountered that tradition firsthand or not. The inquisitive itch, more cars, more garage slots, more completion, doesn't need real world stakes to feel satisfying. It just needs that counter to keep going up. The third, and the one I find most interesting, is the fantasy of frictionless belonging. The Horizon Festival is a community of strangers gathered around a shared love of driving, with zero real hostility, zero real danger, and zero real consequence. Even the tug battles, inspired by actual, sometimes illegal, Japanese mountain street racing culture, get sanded down into something safe and celebratory. That's the emotional trick of the whole series. Instant, unearned belonging to a car culture, GDM culture specifically here, without any of the gatekeeping or risk that surrounds it in real life. Put those 3 threads together, and what you're left with isn't really a racing game psychology. It's a tourism fantasies psychology. The game lets you feel for a few hours like you effortlessly belong somewhere you didn't grow up and haven't earned a place in. That's what actually lingers after you turn the console off. Not the last race you won, the sense of having been welcomed somewhere. So here's the anatomy. Genre: a vehicular tourism game dressed as a racer. Mechanics: a reintroduced power ladder running parallel to a free-form, culturally rooted collection system. Narrative: intentionally thin because the map, not the plot, is what the game wants you to feel something about. Psychology: a compulsive progression loop wrapped around a fantasy of instant, low stakes belonging to a place you're visiting rather than living in. None of that makes Forza Horizon 6 a bad game, but it tells you exactly what kind of hold it has on you, and why you might reach for just one more wristband at midnight without entirely knowing why. That's the first dissection. If this format is useful to you, let me know in the comments what game you'd want atomized next, and subscribe if you want to be here for it. I'm the Game Anatomist, See you in the next one.